Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba. Welcome to episode 11 of the Homeschool Minaret. The Homeschool Minaret, as you know by now, is a webinar series dedicated to exploring parenting, spiritual growth, and education from an Islamic perspective. Tonight's episode is called Bright Smiles, Caring for Your Child's Teeth. Now, the Prophet ﷺ said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي أو على الناس لأمرتهم بالسواك مع كل صلاة. The Prophet ﷺ said, if it were not that I would be making it difficult on my ummah or upon the people, then I would have ordered them to perform the miswak with every prayer. The Prophet ﷺ is saying that he didn't want to make life difficult for us. Otherwise, he would have ordered us to brush our teeth, not just in the morning and in the evening, but 5 times a day. In another hadith narrated by Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she narrates from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he said, "As-siwaku matharatun lil fami, mardatun lil rabbi." That the miswak, the brushing of the teeth with the miswak, is purification for the mouth. It cleans the mouth. But not only that, mardatun lirabbi. Also, it pleases the Rabb. It makes Allah happy. This hadith tells us that good oral hygiene, good dental health is not only good for us, but also it makes Allah happy. It makes our Creator happy as well. So we can regard it as worship. And that's why it's very important for us to encourage our children to develop good habits when it comes to dental health and oral hygiene. Today's honorable guest is Dr. Razaullah Ahmed. He is somebody who graduated as a dentist from King's College London in 2014, and since then he's been working as a dentist here in the UK. He also holds a postgraduate certificate in aesthetic and restorative dentistry, as well as a postgraduate diploma in implantology. He'll be, as usual, our format is that our guest will be speaking for around 20 minutes, and then after that, we'll have our live Q&A session. As always, if you have any questions for our special guest today, feel free to send us your questions over the next 20-25 minutes, and then inshallah, we'll try our best to get through as many questions as possible. And now, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to our special guest, Dr. Razaullah Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you for having me on. Today's topic, I'm going to be focusing on the very basic methods on how to look after your children's teeth. And we're going to focus on children. It's a wide topic. There's loads we can actually talk about. So the Q&As will be more focused and localized. But I just want to give everyone basic knowledge, which will have a massive impact on your children's health. So this is so important because in the UK, where we are based, or where I am based anyway, the number of children that were admitted to hospitals was close to 50,000 last year for dental issues. And the main reason, the crux of it, is education. And it's the difference in education. And we see this in the inequalities in socioeconomic groups that shows that there's certain groups of individuals who are less educated or have access to less education that have higher amount of admittance to these hospitals. So what I'm hoping to do today is give you simple tips and base level knowledge to hopefully prevent this happening to any of your children and reduce the strain that we have on just the NHS system as a whole. Some of the issues that we have are very, very easily identifiable, and some of them are more complex and harder for you to see at home. But a common phrase in medicine and dentistry and everything medical related is common things happen commonly. So a lot of the time you may get worried about children's pain in their teeth, or you may just be thinking, okay, it's something that can just go away. But if I give you 5 or 6 common things that can happen and ways for you to tackle them, I'm hoping this is easy stuff for you to take home. So the most common things to happen to children to cause them pain or to cause them potential issues later on is gingivitis, which is basically gum disease. Now, when people hear gum disease, they feel like it's a advanced disease which happens very later on in life. In all honesty, almost 99% of the population will at some point face gum disease. And it's progressive, which means it can happen at very, very small amounts and it can happen throughout the whole mouth. So children are also susceptible to gum disease, just like adults are. And the easiest, simplest way to prevent it is good brushing technique. So with good brushing technique, it just means taking time to brush the teeth, brushing all the surfaces where the gums meet the teeth themselves. So not just the biting surfaces of the teeth, but actually where the gums and the teeth meet. So when you're aiming to brush the teeth, look at the pink of the gums and look at the white of the teeth. And with small circles, so not big brushing motions, but just small circles on each individual tooth, get in there and brush. The reality is your children will not have the manual dexterity to do this alone realistically until they're around about 4. And even then, they need supervision. My child is 5, and only this year have I let him carry on and brush on his own. I'm still there supervising, and I still take over afterwards. But just sending them away to the bathroom to brush their teeth isn't good enough. So standing over them, keeping a fixed time in the evening, so keeping routine and letting them know exactly what to do is the easiest, simplest way to reduce gingivitis. That's probably the most common issue children will have. And the second is decay. And these are the 2 issues that you will probably see the most. So decay is when a tooth starts to become brown and it gets eaten away. And I know in some of our cultures we'll say it's like a spider's eating away the tooth. So you'll either see it as a hole, but the truth is if you've seen it as a hole in your child's mouth, it's quite far advanced. You will also be able to see it as a white, chalky layer or a brown indentation on the surface of the tooth, and that's the earliest stage. So if you manage to catch it then, it's quite easily reversible, and you may be able to actually get into a dentist and get it filled quite easily. Decay is caused by 4 things. The first is sugar, so feeding the decay, getting sugar into your diet. The second is a tooth surface, so it has to have a surface to react on. The third is bacteria. And the fourth is time. Now, if you don't have these 4 things, decay can't progress. So our job is to make sure that we stop as many of these 4 things as possible. Now, the tooth surface, you obviously can't eliminate. So we're not going to be able to eliminate a tooth surface. So that is what it is. However, we can reduce bacterial load. And that's very simply brushing again. So good brushing technique, taking time in the morning and in the evening will eliminate bacteria and thus reduce the chance of decay forming. However, like Brother Saku said at the beginning, the realistic aspect is you aren't going to be able to constantly brush your children's teeth. So the 2 times in the morning and the evening will get rid of it at the very beginning and the end of the day, but bacteria builds up slowly throughout the day. So our job then is to ensure that we don't allow sugar, or we reduce the amount of sugar that is in our children's diet, so that when the bacteria is there, it doesn't have anything to feed off. So diet alongside brushing are the 2 most important things that we can control as parents for our children. I'm going to go through 2 other quick, often seen things in our children. First is tooth wear. So you may look at your children's teeth and think they're getting flatter over time. This happens a lot in children because of their active dream phases. So when they're dreaming, they tend to clench their teeth together. And when they clench their teeth together, they just become flatter. The reality is there isn't much you can do to stop this happening in the evening. But what we have seen in the recent years is there's been an influx in attrition, which is the wear of the teeth, because of devices. So if children are using devices or playing games within the period of time just before they go to sleep, so within around about half an hour to an hour, they're more likely to clench and grind their teeth because their sleep is slightly more disturbed and they have a little bit more activity, so they clench and grind their teeth a little bit more. So what we can do is limit screen time half an hour or an hour before going to bed. It will improve the quality of sleep, but it also reduces the damage they do to their teeth. Another thing we can do to reduce wear is try and make the teeth as strong as possible. So acids in the diet, so stuff like orange juice, fizzy drinks, high sugar fruits or high acidic fruits, just before your child goes to bed will soften the teeth and that will cause them to become a little bit more susceptible to wear. So if you can reduce generally acids in the diet, but especially just before they go to bed, that will reduce tooth wear also. And finally, trauma. So if your child has trauma, how do you manage it? This is a much bigger topic and not something we can really explore into now, but the crux of it is if your child suffers trauma, it is probably beyond you as a parent to manage straight away. Get into a dentist as soon as possible. So in the UK, access to emergency dentists would be 111. And you can even go and see private dentists for children. Normally, the average price would be around about 20 to 30 pounds. Get seen quickly, get seen as soon as possible. And the majority of times, if you get into a dentist within about an hour or 2 hours, trauma is minimized and they can manage what they see. Simple stuff when they do have trauma, stuff that you can do at home to stop anything going on is soft food diet. Try and keep it clean, just with warm salt water rinses. And if a tooth ever does fall out, an adult tooth, put it in some milk, get to a dentist within an hour, and the dentist may be able to get that tooth back in. So I really want to focus on diet. So I know I've spoken about it before, but the most important thing that you guys as parents can do is control the brushing and control the diet. So I'm going to give you some small tips on how we can control diet. The first thing is I want to talk about the major players into decay and tooth wear. And that's all the obvious stuff. It's all the stuff that if I was to ask you what you think is bad for your teeth, you would probably rattle off and give to me now. So it's anything containing sugar. Sugar's the enemy. Sugar's the enemy generally for your health, but it also is a big enemy for your teeth. So additive sugar, so whether you're adding sugar to stuff, massive no-no. So if you're adding sugar to cereals or if you're adding sugar to drinks, you want to try and eliminate that pretty soon. The biggest enemies are the sugary drinks. So sugar in your food is bad, but sugar in your drinks is probably the worst. And the reason is it's diluted within the drink itself, but fluid gets all over the mouth. So it can easily pass through all surfaces of the teeth and stay on them as a layer for a long period of time. So if I was to give you one take-home message that would massively benefit your kids today, it is try and eliminate sugary drinks from their diet. So water is obviously the best thing you can have. Milk at certain periods of the day. But fizzy drinks, worst thing. Fresh fruit juices, terrible. Milkshakes, terrible. And even some no added sugar squashes, it's definitely better than what I've just listed off now. But the quicker you can get to water, the better. For those of you who've got newborn children, or for those of you who are expecting to have children soon, if you never introduce these sugary drinks into your child's diet, they don't know what they're missing. So when they do come to have it, they're actually not too much of a fan. I mainly drink water in my house. I don't really have fizzy drinks, obviously, as you'd probably expect from a dentist, but my child hasn't had sugary drinks really until he is around his cousins and he's around his friends. Now, when they're drinking stuff, he generally favors water. It's a lot more hydrating and he just likes the taste of it better. So for those of you who have older children, it's a bit more of a battle for you now, I am going to be honest, especially when they start to have their own money, they get a little bit more control of it. But for those of you with younger children, where you still dictate what they're eating or what they're drinking, just try and move over to water if you can. The next thing is chocolates, biscuits, cakes. I'm not one of those dentists who says you can't have any of this stuff. It's just not realistic to completely ruin your life and ruin your diet. But when you do have it, it's not how much you have, it's how many times you have it. So if you were to have a pack of sweets at one individual time and you were to finish the pack of sweets in a 20-minute period, and you were to have the same pack of sweets, but you were to have one sweet every 20 minutes for around about 2 to 3 hours, the one sweet every 20 minutes is much, much more damaging to your health and to your teeth than the pack of sweets is at the same time. Now, this is in no means me condoning you having a whole pack of sweets in one sitting, but I'm just giving you a comparison of the fact that it's frequency, not how much you're having it. It's the amount of times you're having it. So if you are going to have sweet stuff and you're trying to figure out how to manage your children's diets and how to get past the point of them asking for sweet stuff, what method I use is I say to my child, if you were to finish your dinner, we'll have a dessert straight away. If you're to have a lunch, you can have a dessert. You can have a milkshake with your lunch. My child doesn't actually like milkshake, but he still has it there just because it feels like a treat. Yogurts. Everyone looks at yogurts and thinks, oh my God, they're so healthy. Yogurts normally have a lot of sugar in. So for me, that would be a dessert to have after your lunch. But if you have it at the same time as lunch and dinner, then it still has the same impact as the lunch would have, with just a small increase because of the sugar that's in it. So reducing the frequency of snacks is one of the tools you can do to protect your children's teeth. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking this probably isn't realistic. Growing children, constantly eating, they're always wanting food. So they need snacks. So what can you snack on? In terms of health for your teeth, and it may not be as healthy generally for your body. Cheese is a good snack. Crackers, vegetables like carrot sticks and cucumbers, dipped in like hummus and stuff like that. Obviously, not very kid friendly snacks, but these are the stuff that we need to do to ensure that our children aren't dragged into the dentist to get treatment and have to undergo extractions and such. So try and reduce snacking, and if they are snacking, try and make those snacks a little bit better for the teeth. So look at non-sugary snacks. One big myth that is across the board actually is the 5 a day myth, which is you need to have 5 a day of fruit or veg to ensure that you're in a healthy state. Now, when that was brought along, Jamie Oliver, the chef that most of you probably know, is one of the pioneers of it, and he actually was doing the testing with one of my mentors. Now, when they did the testing, they found that your 5 a day, one is a vegetable. Sorry, one is a fruit and four are a vegetable. Now, that was taken by the marketing companies and shown as, okay, this fruit is now one of your 5 a day. So the majority of people think, okay, you're meant to have 5 pieces of fruit a day. This isn't true. You're meant to be having 4 pieces of veg a day and 1 piece of fruit. And that's the health. And the reason is the fruit has a high amount of sugar in it. So while it's better than chocolate and biscuits and sweets, it still has a high amount of sugar. So thinking that snacking on apples and oranges and bananas and strawberries throughout the day is healthy isn't as healthy as you think it is. So it's definitely better than chocolates and biscuits. However, you want to try and tone it back even more and pick times of the day, maybe only once, where you can have a snack like that. One of the other things I want to speak, that's diet. I'm not going to focus too much anymore on diet. I don't want to take up too much time. But in essence, genuinely, it's simple stuff. Look at the back, look at the sugar. If the sugar content's high, try and avoid it if you can. A common question we get now is how much fluoride do you need in toothpaste? It's very topical at the moment, and obviously there's always articles on how fluoride is damaging to people's health and how it can be detrimental. The truth is the amount of fluoride that we have in toothpaste is actually quite small. It's a topical region, and as long as they're not swallowing the toothpaste, always try and get them to spit. It won't have much impact on the health of an individual. But what I would say is fluoride is an additive. So it's there to help people who are susceptible to decay. If your diet's good and your brushing's good, then you don't need fluoride. And that's the truth. Fluoride is there to repair decay. But if you're not having a high sugar diet and you're brushing very well, you're not susceptible to decay. So you don't need the fluoride. So the reason we need fluoride as individuals is we're weak. So we have sugar. We're not as good with our brushing as we should be. We're not as good with feeding our kids what we should be. We go for like quicker stuff and just to make our lives a little bit easier. Hence, we need the fluoride. So if you're worried about fluoride, the answer is improve the diet and improve the brushing. If you're not so worried about fluoride, then help from the dentist in terms of applying fluoride on 6 monthly basis and using the required fluoride for that age group is the best thing for you. And the required fluoride for the age group is normally written down on the toothpaste that you buy. So if you just buy age-appropriate toothpaste, then they already have them for you. So by 6, they should be using adult toothpaste, in all honesty. This is to prevent all the stuff that I've told you so far is to prevent your child getting into the dentist and having to do anything major. But the biggest preventer is actually early introduction to the dentist. So getting your child into the dentist very, very early, because there's been a lot of fear factor around dentists generally throughout history. and it's normally passed on from parents. So your parents would have passed on a fear of dentistry to you, and then you would have passed on a fear of dentistry to your children. And it's normally innocent. It's normally innocent, and it's used as a kind of threat to kids, which is, oh, if you do that, the dentist is going to take your teeth out, or if you do that, you're going to go to the dentist and they're going to have to drill your teeth. And it's innocent, and you're using it, and we understand why you're using it. It's a threat to make your kids listen. However, what that does is when the child gets into the dentist, they're so scared they don't cooperate with treatment. So even though the treatment may be simple, like a simple filling, that would easily reverse the issue, the child is so scared to get it done, they're uncooperative. And it leads the treatment to get to the point where you then have to go through sedation and referrals. And you're, as a parent, seeing your child in agony, constantly getting infections because they're unwilling to go through treatment. So to counteract this, what I suggest almost everyone to do is as soon as your child gets their first set of teeth, get them into the dentist, get them used to the dentist being there, and realizing that the dentist actually doesn't do much. They count my teeth and they go. They count my teeth and they go. And a good general dentist will every now and then introduce something new. So they'll introduce a little bit of air, a little bit of water. They'll teach them how to brush their teeth. Once they might let them play with the drill here and there. So if and when they ever do need treatment, they won't be scared. They'll just think, oh, this is the person that I normally go and see every 6 months. So it's not new for me. It's not damaging for me. And they're going to clean my teeth with that special brush that they have that makes a noise. And they showed me that noise a few appointments ago, so I'm not scared of it. So don't threaten your kids with the dentist. Get them in soon so they can see. A lot of the areas of the UK now, you find that NHS dentistry is tough. So getting in is tough. You can always get them into urgent care. So phone 111 and get an urgent care appointment, even if it's just the simplest thing. But also for children, all private dentistry generally, again, is around about 20 to 30 pounds if your kids don't need anything. So the introduction appointments aren't expensive. It's the treatment that becomes expensive. And the introduction appointment, 20 to 30 pounds once every 6 months, if you were to split that over 6 months, is around about £5 a month. So if you can get them in for those introduction appointments, it will save you a lot more time, effort, and money later on because you'll get the education directly. Your child will get the message directly from a dentist, and you can prevent much bigger problems later on. So it'll save you time, money, and effort. So that's pretty much all I wanted to speak on in terms of the main sticking points. There's so much more I can speak on, but if I'm just to give you a quick summary, diet is the most important thing. Please reduce the sugar. Don't threaten your kids with the dentist. Try and make them an approachable figure, not a scary figure. So when they do see them, they're happy. And brush your children's teeth. If they're below 5, you should be brushing them. If they're fighting you, jump in. And you're the ones who should be brushing their teeth for them. I think we'll go on to Q&A.
Jazakallah for that. That was really, really informative. Jazakallah for that. So we've got some questions that have come in, and some questions are still coming in. So we'll do a quick fire round of questions before we go on to the main questions. With the quick fire round of questions, just a couple of rules. One is you can't overthink it, and two, you can't sit on the fence. So you know, some guests like to sit on the fence. You can't sit on the fence. And the third rule is that where possible, one-word answers or short answers with these quick fire questions. Okay.
Yep.
So the first quick fire question is electric or manual toothbrush?
Electric.
Okay. Question 2, floss before or after brushing?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Coffee or tea? Two-part question. What do you prefer, and what's worse for the teeth?
Straight coffee, and neither are bad, to be honest. It's
Okay.
just staining. Staining isn't bad for your teeth. It just makes them look brown.
Okay. And your favorite part of being a dentist?
The people, my patients.
And one dental myth you'd like to bust?
Fluoride is damaging.
Okay. And a sweet treat that you can't resist, even as a dentist?
So I have a specific drink. It's an iced latte with a vanilla milk. I have it once a day. It's part of my coffee.
Okay, fair enough. And mouthwash, is it essential or overrated?
Useless.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
There's only one mouthwash you really need, and that's Corsadil. You only need that if you have gum issues. Mouthwash, generally, useless.
Very interesting. One thing parents should never let kids do with their teeth?
Um, just open bottles or like hard stuff. So soft stuff are okay, but bottles, or don't open bottles with your teeth.
Okay. And final question from the quickfire segment. What gives you a bright smile outside of dentistry?
Football.
Football. Okay. And what team do you support?
Aston Villa. So we won today. 1-0.
Okay. So, okay, so that was a quick fire segment, Jazakallah for that. So now these are questions that have come in from the viewers. So the first question is, um, so with these ones, if you want to expand a little bit, you can. So the first question is, should you rinse your mouth after brushing or only spit?
So that's a really important question, actually. So I would have loved to have got to that with more time. Don't spit. Sorry, don't rinse, just spit. And remember, you lot spoke about mouthwash. The reason is there's fluoride in the toothpaste, which as a froth stays on your teeth if you just spit and don't rinse out. As soon as you rinse with either water or mouthwash, everything goes. A mouthwash is very fluid and liquidy. It doesn't stick to the teeth anywhere near as well. Hence why I said mouthwash is useless. So just spit, don't rinse.
Okay. Another question from a viewer is, at what age should children start flossing?
So there's normally the spaces between their teeth which dictates it. They can't floss. They don't have the manual dexterity, to be honest with you. So if you introduce flossing at an early age, it isn't effective. It's just routine. So get them in around about 6 flossing. They're not doing a big job, but it's getting them into the routine of flossing.
Just building that habit and then
Just
inshallah.
building the habit. They won't be effective. They won't do it properly, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. So somebody's asked, I have black coffee as it contains low calories, but I've heard it's bad for the teeth. Is that a myth or a fact?
So black coffee, the reason people say it can be slightly bad for your teeth is it's low acidic, so it's acidic. However, in comparison to almost every other drink that you have, its acidity is very low. They say it's bad for your teeth because of the staining potential. But again, staining isn't bad for your teeth. If you clean them properly and you go and get regular hygiene visits, you're fine. I have black coffee regularly.
Okay, Jazakallah for that. And um, how do we choose the right toothpaste and toothbrush for each age?
So the aged toothbrushes, I can actually just tell you, but they're normally labeled. So the easiest thing is go to the store that you normally get it from and get the age appropriate one. Below 3, you want less than 1,000 parts per million fluoride. Between 3 and 6, you want between 1,000 and 1,500. And then after 6, you want 1,450. Now, people aren't going to remember this. So the easy thing for you to do is go to the store and just look at the child age appropriate toothpaste. And they're all already done. Colgate have little kids toothpaste, which is for 0 to 2. They have another one, which is 3 to 6. And they have another one, which is for adults. Toothbrushes go electric. Get the normal electric toothbrush you'd get for yourself, but they're just like, they look like they're for kids. So like Oral-B have a nice kids one. Don't get a battery operated one. Get a rechargeable one. So for everyone listening now, Black Friday is coming up. They do 60% off on toothbrushes. Get a rechargeable electric toothbrush. I've got Sonic here, but it's quite tickly. Oral-B is probably better for kids because they've got a tiny little head.
And why would you say the rechargeable one is better than the battery one? Just
So what happens with the battery one? It carries on going, but as the battery depletes, the power reduces, but the toothbrush carries on going. Whereas with the rechargeable one, the power stays the same until it's gone, and then you recharge.
Okay, fair enough. How can we manage sugar intake without meltdowns?
So, in all honesty, if you've got a child who you've already been giving sugar to, you're going to have to suffer the meltdowns. If you've got a child who you haven't introduced sugar to, there's not that many meltdowns because they've never tasted it. I say this to all my patients, which is when the child comes in, I never blame the child. They're like, oh, but they keep crying and they won't listen to me. And I'm like, the child has no money. They can't buy their food. They can't buy their drink. They can't buy the chocolates. If you can't stock it in the house, it's not available. So don't buy it is the answer to that. So if you
Mhm.
love sugar, you can't have sugar for a while.
We've just got a follow-up question from one of the previous questions, which was about flossing.
Yeah.
So you said obviously just get them to start flossing, just
Yeah.
to get them into the habit, build good routines. But the follow-up question is, at what age is flossing effective then?
So flossing is dependent on how well you do it. So what you want to do is you want to get a piece of floss the size of your forearm. You get it as far as forearm. Between these fingers here, you fold until you can hold like this. And then when you can hold like that, then you put it in. So if you can do that as an adult easily, then you can show your child on how to do it. And the reality is it differs. You may have a 6-year-old who's quite advanced, who can do it quite easily. You may have a 10-year-old who still can't manage it. It's not an age that makes it effective. It's the technique which makes it effective.
Mm, fair enough. And how can we help kids who resist brushing?
So this depends on the age, and there's loads of different factors for it. So again, a lot of parents come to me and they say, "Oh, my kid fights me." My kid fights me. I pin him down. Like I pin him down, arms under my legs, head there, and I'm brushing the teeth. For a child who's below 3 or 4, it will take you about 20 seconds to brush their teeth. And yeah, they'll fight. And eventually they'll stop fighting. Now, if they're older and there's like sensory issues, I know a lot of times there's children who don't like the sensation of the toothbrush or the toothpaste. And sometimes it's simple stuff like the taste. Talk to them. Be like, why don't you like brushing your teeth? And they'll be like, the flavor's too strong. Cool. Get a non-flavored toothpaste and that will fix that problem. They'll be like, the electric toothbrush is too tickly. No problem. Switch to a manual toothbrush. But if they're young, pin them down. This is another thing. They come, parents bring their children to me and they're like, oh, they don't let me brush your teeth. Can you do it? And I'm like, how am I going to? I don't know this child. You live with this child and you're their parent and they trust you. They don't trust me. So if you can't do it, I can't do it. So yeah, pin them down.
So we got another question here. Some dentists recommend plaque reveal tablets for kids. What's your view on these?
Yeah, they're great. So if your child's not brushing their teeth very well, then you can get those plaque reveal tablets, the disclosing tablets. They'll show your child where they're missing. But if you're getting onto that stage, then you're doing well because you've got your child who's brushing their teeth to an effective level.
Mm,
They're good.
they're good.
Yeah.
Would you say they're good for adults as well, or?
Yeah, they're good for if you've got gum disease and you can't figure out why you've got gum disease, like you're putting in the effort, get the tablets. If you're brushing your teeth once a day for 30 seconds, don't worry about the tablet. Like brush twice a day, 2 minutes first, and then figure out what's going wrong. But do the simple stuff first.
And I think one final question just come in. Um, if mouthwash is useless, why do dentists give it after every visit?
That's mouthwash we tell you to rinse because one, when you come and see me, I don't want to smell your breath. So you're going to use it before you come and see me. And second, they rinse out their mouth, not because of it's doing good benefit for them, but because I've probably been drilling and scaling in your
Yeah,
mouth.
yeah.
I don't have mouthwash in my practice. I have water. They rinse out with water.
There you go. So, no, Jazakallah for that. That was the last question. But no, Jazakallah for that. It's very, very informative. I've benefited immensely, and I'm sure all the viewers have benefited as well. So, Jazakallah for taking your time out and joining us today. Just a quick announcement before we conclude. Inshallah, our next episode will be in 2 weeks' time, and we will be joined by Maulana Muawiyah bin Mufti Abdul Samad. And he'll be coming on and talking about how we can nurture our children, raise our children in light of the Quran and Sunnah in the prophetic way. So please put that down in your diaries. 2 weeks from now, inshallah, 7:30. And on that note, one more time, a massive jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanul jaza. A massive thank you to our special guest today who came and educated us on dental health and oral hygiene. And until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah.